Liverpool brilliant in the first half. They weren't hanging on at the end. Did they deserve the win?
Yeah, I think they deserved the win, Mark, but it wasn't convincing, was it? At 2-1 with Everton trying a long throw and trying to put dangerous crosses into the area. Liverpool always looked a little bit vulnerable, but Everton didn't make a host of chances in the second half. But Liverpool are just seeing out games. They're not convincing at this moment in time, but they're doing enough to win the games. I was at Atletico midweek and they won the game, and yes, it was close, but Liverpool had more chances in the second half to go on and make the game a little bit more easier. But they're certainly doing it the hard way at this moment in time. And as I said, it wasn't convincing after the first half, but again, they got it done, and that's what people will talk about.
Okay, following up on what Mac has just said, not a bad position to be, is it? 100% perfection, 5 wins out of 5, top of the table, and not great yet. Still in kind of second or third gear. That's rather ominous for the rest of the league, Oggy, is it not?
It should be. I mean, it can go two ways, couldn't it? It could be that it's ominous for the rest of the league that when everything settles down and when Slot gets his best team and when Wirtz and Isak settle in properly, it'll be impossible to stop. But the flip side is that they're getting these results now because they're just working on memories of last season, and maybe they're not quite as convincing, and maybe there are flaws that are going to be exposed sooner rather than later against better teams than Everton, because as much as Everton tried and they made it difficult second half, they did lack a bit of creativity. And I was wondering at what point was David Moyes going to put an Alcaraz or Dibbling, and he left it till like the 85th minute. So one thing that I see with Liverpool is that they really don't control midfield, and against the top teams, we saw it against Atleti, a little bit against Arsenal when they won with that Szoboszlai free kick late on. At some point, Liverpool are going to come unstuck against one of the top teams. They're not doing that yet, but maybe this good start is basically papering over tracks.
Yeah, it was interesting in the first half because Gana Gueye wasn't necessarily at fault for the 2 goals, but could have done a lot better in that midfield area. But Everton did control it a lot better in the second half. We'll speak a lot more about that to come. But Janusz, 2 main key points in the team news. We kind of thought it would be Ekitike ahead of Isak after Isak started in midweek. But no Florian Wirtz today. He was on the bench. What did you make of Liverpool middle to front when Arne Slot named his side?
Well, I didn't have a problem with that. I mean, he's played all the games. He's got to get used to the Premier League as well. For all of us that watch and commentate Bundesliga, we all know that he's playing in a position that he's not comfortable with, in a system that he's not comfortable with. I mean, even for Germany, I mean, he's a number 10 that drifts left. And so far, he's been playing a lot of times in the center of the park, and he's got to learn right now, very much like we saw the second goal when he wasn't on the pitch yet, that first and foremost he's got to play 1-2 touch first before he's able to do what we all think that he can do, right? Even when he came on, I don't know if you guys remember, got tackled immediately after trying to dribble through the middle, and even when he cut back at Michael Keane, right, there was Tarkowski coming back. There is no time in the Premier League, and he's got to find that timing. And I think player of that ilk will eventually do that. So I think that Arne Slot in a derby match went to what he knew from last season more so than anything else. So I think he's made the right decision because it wasn't a derby in the first half. And as the boys were saying, you've got to just see out the games, right? And that's something that Liverpool's having problems right now from the beginning.
Yeah, well, Maka, we know how good they are at the end and scoring late goals, but they flew out the blocks, didn't they? And it was a brilliant opening goal. Gana Gueye could have done better in midfield, but let's give credit to Liverpool for this one because it's a delightful through ball from Mohamed Salah. It looked like the spin was going against Gravenberch, but he took it so early. It's just a fantastic opener.
Yeah, it was. Liverpool were exceptional to a certain extent in the first half, and that's when they showed flashes of brilliance, when they're breaking forwards, when they're using the pace. And Mo Salah with yet another assist. I mean, somebody said to me he got an assist midweek for that shot, which sort of hit Andy Robertson. And I certainly didn't agree then. I said, there's no way on earth that can be classed as an assist. But it certainly was today. Faded ball over the head of Michael Keane, but it was all about the finish, wasn't it? Ryan Gravenberch onto it as quick as a flash and just helping it over Jordan Pickford, who had absolutely no chance. And it was a wonderful first goal. And then Liverpool went on to control that first half. And when it went to 2-0, for some reason, which they've shown on a number of occasions, I mean, my only analogy would be like being on a roller coaster. They reach the top when they're 2-0 up, and then they sort of just come off it again and sort of start to ease back into the game and allow the team the opposition to get into it. They did it with Atletico. They did it against Bournemouth, against Newcastle. And I'm thinking to myself, just put your foot to the metal and go and absolutely destroy this game straight away. But they somehow allow teams to get back into the game. Then when they need to lift it again, like they have done in past games, Liverpool then shoot up and score winners. I don't see why they aren't constant throughout the game at this moment in time. And it's something they're going to have to do, because at 2-0, this game should have been over and done with. They were that dominant. But then they dropped off. They allowed Everton to get control of the game. And suddenly, Everton, particularly in midfield, as Oggy said before, and Atletico did during the week, these players looked as if they were far better than Liverpool on the ball. And that shouldn't be just like that, because as they've shown last year, the Liverpool 3 or 4 or 5 that they've used should be able to control games better, particularly at Anfield. I get it away from home, but at Anfield, they should be able to control the games, almost kill the game off at 2-0 and easily see out. But it's been very nervy for all the fans and all the people who were watching. And that's something we haven't come accustomed to at Liverpool.
Ekitike makes it 2-0, Oggy, and as Macca's just said, you should be kicking on, trying to get 3 and maybe 4 after that. But this isn't the first time this season when they've had a 2-goal advantage that they've not necessarily looked nervy, because they didn't after they went 2-0 up. It was the second half that Everton kind of thought, right, we can have a go here. What is it, in your opinion, with Liverpool in a 2-goal lead this season that has kind of seen the opposition think, hey, we've got a chance here? Is it nothing to lose from the opposition and Liverpool not knowing how to handle that?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a few things, isn't it? I do think that, we talk about the players they brought in, but we can't forget they've lost Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back. Andy Robertson's not been playing at left back. So a lot of experience in the defence on that side of the pitch, on the flanks, has gone. So an element of controlling the game and that kind of experience has gone as well. And I think that they're so kind of overloaded with attacking players. I mean, at times it's like they're like playing a 4-2-4. So in the second half, when teams like Everton are realising they can get a bit of the ball, and then the 4 forward players are kind of not doing their bit in midfield, then you're up against 2 midfielders, and they're very good midfielders, Gravenberch and McAllister. They're probably the best 2 in the Premier League. But still, if you can overpower and kind of add the extra man there, you're going to have joy against Liverpool. And I think that's the issue that Arne Slot's got to address. He's got to make sure they're a little bit tighter. And like I said, the fullbacks have changed. You've got maybe one body short in midfield and too many players with a natural instinct to go forward. But in that case, the 4 forward players should be getting more joy and kind of putting the 3rd and 4th goal in. But there's something that's not quite right at the balance right now. But, Arne Slot is a clever guy. He's a good tactician. I'm sure he'll sort it out. But it's definitely midfield where they're having issues.
Liverpool went in at the break, Janusz, 2-0 up. Everton, though, started the second half very well. And I thought they deserved the goal when they got it through Gana Gueye. It was a ball in from Grealish, nodded down, and a fantastic finish by Gueye to make it 2-1. What did you see at the start of the second half that had maybe changed from what Everton weren't doing at the end of the first half?
Nothing from Everton, let's be honest here. I mean, after the first half, this wasn't a derby. This was one-way traffic, and it should have been that way. And the lack of mentality maybe from Liverpool, maybe just thinking that the game was over, whatever it was. But, I'd like to say something positive. Obviously, there was a substitution at halftime about Everton. And I saw Davy Moyes' team, right? I mean, this is his sort of mentality. I've grown, I don't want to say, not to like him, but to appreciate him over the years. Remember the first time at Everton, where he really had no money to spend and yet was achieving results, right? And coming back, it's a typical Everton team, I suppose. If you look at the back, I mean, you have players that are hard, just as hard as Davy Moyes. I think if Brentwaite was available, he'd probably try to squeeze him in somehow as well. So nothing against Everton, but I think it was more of Liverpool not doing what they were doing in the first half than Everton itself. Now, obviously, Grealish has caused problems. I think that's why Slot decided today with Bradley and maybe go back to sort of a player that knows the atmosphere of a derby as well. Frimpong, obviously, with some injuries. But in terms of Everton, I think Grealish did okay, a slower start, but after that, he showed the quality that he had. And then Jai woke up a little bit in the second half. So that intensity, Maka will know better, but I can only imagine the conversation David Moyes had at halftime there. You saw that, and Liverpool didn't match it. That's the only difference.
Ekitike, Maka, has had a brilliant start to his Liverpool career. Obviously, Alexander Isak has come in. Do you expect when Isak is up and running and 100% that it's his start no matter what? Or do you think Arne Slot's going to be a horses for courses Depends on the opposition. Could we even see the pair of them together in the same Liverpool lineup? And if so, how would that work?
Well, the answer, could I see them together? Definitely, because Arne Slot has done that. And we know Hugo Ekitike can play off the left if need be. Will he play every game, Isak, when he's fit and well? I don't think so, because I think Ekitike has shown that he's aware that we're the adversary of Alexander Isak in that number 9 role. You know, as Janusz rightly said, you know, Florian Wirtz can play off the left if need be. So I think there'll be lots with the way Liverpool are playing. They've got a Carabao Cup game coming up in a couple of days as well. You know, when you play Wednesday against Atleti, and then you play Saturday morning, Saturday early, Saturday 12:30 kickoff, and then you've got a Carabao Cup game Tuesday. You have to chop and change your team. So I can see all of the scenarios that you mentioned, Mark, happening. I can see Ekitike and Isak playing together. I can see Florian Wirtz sometimes playing off the left. I can see Gakpo, who's been in good form, playing off the left. So I think they will all have to be able to sit on the bench, rest up, and do the best for the team, like Liverpool have shown in the last couple of years. You know, they've had 5 centre forwards or 5 forward players, and they've all had a turn on the bench. I mean, the only constant, of course, is Mo Salah, and whether that continues is another thing, because, of course, Ekitike and Isak at a different level of quality to what they've had before. So maybe Mo will have to sit on the bench. I mean, I very much doubt it, but maybe he will have to have a turn just to have a rest. But I can see all the scenarios happening. I don't think any constant 3 can play it all at one stage, because there's too many games. Sometimes, you know, the fitness levels of certain players need to be looked at, particularly the likes of Frimpong, as you rightly said, and Isak at this moment in time. So Liverpool will need the whole squad, and they'll need the whole squad to chip in and play a huge part this year. And I just hope that nothing happens to to Virgil van Dijk and Konate, because as I look at the squad, that's where they could be weak if any of them have a serious injury, because they can compensate for 1 game, 2 games here and there, but they can't compensate for 10 games or 12 games if anything happens to one of those centre defenders.
Oggy, 6 competitive games for Liverpool this season. They've struggled at times in all of them, despite winning them all. Bournemouth, they had issues. Newcastle, of course, the late winner. Arsenal, that took a bit of a time as well. Burnley, 1-0, that took a while. Atletico Madrid, they were pegged back to 2-2 before getting the late winner. And then the Everton game where they were in cruise control at 2-0 up. Given what everyone else has said, do you think once everyone is settled in, the new signings at the football club, that they will find another couple of gears? Or do you think this might be more of this is what's going to happen with Liverpool this season, and they'll find a way, but at times that luck may run out?
No, I think Liverpool have got too many good players to be in that situation. But I do agree with Maka that it's the centre-halves that worry me. If they lose Van Dijk or Konate, they are in trouble. But if not, they've got so many options. And I think one thing we have to kind of add in as well, it's the African Cup of Nations in I think December. So Mo Salah could be away for 6-7 weeks. So I think what Slot's doing now is making sure that his forwards get enough game time so that when that comes around, that they're all ready to go. And they have to look at this season in phases, don't they? They have to look at the start of the season, just get as many wins as possible. But he needs his players fit and firing in March, April and May, when Liverpool are going to be challenging for certainly the Premier League and probably the Champions League and maybe the FA Cup as well. So at this stage of the season, it's just kind of moving the posts around, all the balls around a little bit just to get everybody with a bit of game time. But I do think that once it settles down, it's just going to boil down to a fact it's going to be Liverpool v Arsenal for the league, and then who comes out the best, but who gets luckiest with injuries. I mean, Ekitike, for me, he's been the real surprise, because everyone talks about Wirtz, talks about Isak. But Ekitike, £80 million? It's almost like he's been talked about as a squad player, but he's obviously not. He's obviously better than that. And when you saw his goal today, and when you see the way the way he addresses the ball and the way he strokes it into the net, it's like watching it like Fernando Torres, because he's got that real kind of graceful movement and the way he strokes the ball. It's just, he's a real star act. So I think they've got a real gem there in Ekitike. And I think when it comes to December time and January time when Salah's not around, Ekitike and Isak will be absolutely massive.
Janusz, what about Everton? 5 games this season, 2 wins and a draw with 2 defeats. It's not been a bad start to the season, but as the boys were saying as well, there's something about them this season. They've got something in the wide areas with Grealish on one side. You've got Gana Gueye coming in as well from midfield. They'll be all right, won't they?
I think so. I mean, Jaya showed last season and the beginning of this season as well, obviously, how good of a player he is. Dewsbury Hall, it's a sort of player in the center of the pitch that, I mean, you don't usually associate with Everton, at least as of late, if I look at last 2 or 3 seasons as well. Jack Grealish, a wonderful start for him. I think, he's turning a new page where, once again, he's been counted on just like he was at Villa. He is the man in Manchester City. That wasn't always the case. Obviously, he had one great season. So, as I mentioned, Brentwaite, a very good central defender who, when he comes in, I assume takes the place of Michael Keane. But, you have a little bit of depth there, and that's important for any team that David Moyes has. They still have a Pickford and goal, the best English goalkeeper. So I think, with the new stadium, it seems like there's a renewed energy for Everton to do what they've done so far, right? And that's important because, if I remember correctly, last 2 or 3 seasons, maybe 4, we've been talking about Everton staying up in the Premier League. So definitely much better. Second half encouraging. They obviously had a whole week to prepare. Liverpool had an emotional game and a very difficult game on Wednesday against Atleti. So that has to be taken into consideration as well, I suppose. But the conversation about Liverpool, glass half full, half empty. I mean, reality is a challenge of Schlatt to figuring out his team. He doesn't know that yet. He has responsibilities because these are massive, massive signings. He wants every one of his players to succeed, and in the meantime, he's winning every game.
Final word goes to Maka, and I just want to get your thoughts, Maka, on Liverpool going forward and the strength and depth that they had. I read this tweet from a Liverpool fan, Simon Clancy, before kickoff. Some bench today, said Simon. The Japan skipper, 2 England players, the 2 most expensive signings in British history, one of the most exciting young players in Europe, the best keeper at the last World Cup, the best left-back in Premiership history, and one of the best attacking full-backs in Europe. That was their bench today. Liverpool will be all right this season, won't they?
They should be all right, Mark, but just because they brought in new signings doesn't mean they're necessarily better than last year. I've said before, in my opinion, Frimpong and Kerkez are not as good as Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Yet they need to get to that level. Of course they do. So Liverpool have lost 2 really there. Robbo's not playing at the moment, but could easily play. And the forwards, the big signings that they've had, Isak and Wirtz, are non-existent at this moment in time. So will get better. But, and that is the big question, they need to get better. They cannot continue to, they're doing great at this moment. Of course they are. But any fan can see that there's flaws in their squad at this moment in time, but we all expect them to reach new levels and to get better and to gel the more they play with each other and the more they adapt to living in Liverpool, being in this squad, learning a new lifestyle exactly for the foreign boys. They will get better. They're young, so they naturally should get better. And that's the most important thing. Yes, they're flying at the minute, not all guns blazing, but we're hoping that they reach new levels. And if they do reach new levels that we expect because of the quality of the signings, it should be an incredibly exciting year. But as Oggy touched on, you need a bit of luck. You need to stay clear of injuries. You need your team to keep on playing well and get better. And if that persists, Liverpool should absolutely be fine this year.